So you're telling me that writing my thoughts down in a book can help me lose weight? Yes, I am, and we're going to talk about that right now. Hey Killer Bees, I'm Pahla B, your best middle-aged fitness friend, and around here, we are all about making peace with your menopausal body by finding a healthy weight and moving in ways that feel like self-love. And one of the things that I tell you about finding a healthy weight, one of the 5 things that I tell you in the 5-0 method, is to eat the right number of calories and drink the right amount of water and sleep appropriately and exercise moderately, but also that 5th thing that we're talking about today is managing your mindset. And I know that when you're doing the other 4 things, it feels kind of like, okay, these are all totally related to weight loss. But that managing your mindset thing might be a little bit harder to grasp. So today I really wanted to sit down with you and tell you why it is so important. There's no nice way to say this, so here it goes. You guys, you have thoughts that you are thinking right now that are holding you back from getting to your weight loss goal. And the reason I know that is because you're not at your weight loss goal yet. It's the thing that happens to all of us. And I say this with so much love and kindness. We all have thoughts running around in our heads that are stopping us from getting where we want to go. So what do we do about that? And how do we use journaling for weight loss? Well, here's how. There are 2 simple things that we're going to do, and we're going to talk about them today in very easy, beginner-friendly terms. 2 things that we do. We find our thoughts, and we decide if they're helpful. And yes, it's that simple. And yet, even when I say that, I know some of you are like, okay, but how? How do I do either one of those things? Here's how. Step number 1, we're going to find your thoughts. And what I mean by that is that you're going to ask yourself a question and you're going to write down everything that comes to mind. So you're literally going to take a piece of paper and a pen and you're going to ask yourself a question and then answer it with anything that is rattling around in your mind. And you're going to be really tempted to censor yourself or think that you don't know, and that's completely normal and completely okay. But here's why this works. This is one of those things that I love knowing. Your brain cannot help but answer a question. It is so fun for me to notice this. Even though I know what I'm doing, I know I'm asking myself a question and I think I'm smart enough to outsmart myself sometimes. And yet we all do it. Your brain is compelled to answer a question. So all you have to do to find your thoughts is to ask yourself a relatively simple and relatively specific question. And here's what I mean by that. Sometimes we'll ask ourselves something like, what do I think about my life? And then, you could probably write for days on something like that. You have lots and lots and lots of thoughts about your whole life and specific parts of your life and things like that. So in order to be efficient and effective with this, you're going to want to ask yourself something really specific. What do I think about eating 1,800 calories a day, for example? It's a good one. You probably have a lot of thoughts about that, and you might not even notice them until you ask yourself, or even just now when I said that, you started thinking things, didn't you? Write them down. This is how we find our thoughts. We ask ourselves a question, and then we just answer it on paper. Now, you're going to be surprised at how many thoughts you have about things that seem like really simple questions. And that's really the point of why we do this. I've heard the statistic that we have on average 60,000 thoughts a day, which is something like 40 of them a minute. There's no way to hear all of those. Truly, most of them are just automatic. They're just running in the background. And that's why we have this task of finding our thoughts. If we don't ask ourselves what we're thinking, it's all just going on in the background there. Now, I have another little tip here that if your brain offers you an answer like, I don't know, go ahead and write that down. That is actually a thought also. It cracks me up because I will do this too when I'm journaling. I will think, oh, I don't know what I think about that. So I'll just write it down, just kind of give my brain time to do a little bit more thinking, more deciding whether or not it knows. And sometimes if I've asked a particularly challenging question of myself, I'll keep hearing, I don't know. And what I offer myself in that situation is something like, okay, but what if I did know? Or what do I think somebody else might think? about this. That one is one of my favorite tricks because it puts it a little bit of less pressure on you and maybe, oh, well, somebody else might think, this, that, or the other thing. Okay, but if it's in your head, that's you thinking, just so you know. Brains are funny, you guys. So once we have that all out on paper, this is the part of journaling that you're probably really familiar with, just like writing things down, kind of venting and kind of getting it all out. Well, I tell you what, there's another part to this, and that's where we come to step 2, is deciding whether or not your thoughts are helpful. Here's what lots of us do. We have thoughts, for example, okay, so let's say, for example, you asked yourself the question of, what do I think about eating 1,800 calories a day to lose weight? And then one of the thoughts that you wrote down was something like, oh, I could never eat that much. Now, when you write that down and when you read it again, looking for whether or not it's helpful, you're probably going to tell yourself, well, but that's totally true, because it sounds so true in your head. Of course, that's true. I could never eat that much. That's way too much food. I'll never lose weight with that. But here's what I'm going to tell you about this process. We're not trying to decide whether or not something is true. We're asking ourselves whether or not something is helpful. There's a difference sometimes. And this is what is so important about this process of finding your thoughts and deciding if they're helpful. Because your thoughts are going to sound true. Even when you're reading them again, they're going to be like, yep, that's true. I can't eat that many. But that's not a helpful thought. And here's how you know. If you can't decide, just looking at a thought, whether or not it's helpful, here's your litmus test. You're going to ask yourself, how do I feel when I think this thought? What we're looking for here is just something really generic. We're just looking for good or bad. If you want to, and you have the vocabulary for it, you might parse it down to, I feel a vague sense of ennui about this. And that's completely okay, but it's not really necessary for our purposes. All you need to know is, do I feel good when I think this? Or do I feel not so good when I think this? Because truly, it doesn't have to be that you think that you feel bad. It could be as simple as, well, I don't feel great. I feel kind of meh, kind of eh. Well, meh or eh is the same thing as not good. That's how we know that something is not helpful, my friends. When you feel good about your thoughts, those good thoughts are going to create all kinds of good actions towards getting your goal. They're going to help you eat the right number of calories. They're going to help you drink the right amount of water. They're going to help you sleep at night. They're going to help you exercise moderately. It's even going to help you with this task of managing your mindset. Good thoughts bring you good results. Not good, I don't always want to say bad, but not good thoughts or meh thoughts or thoughts are getting you results. Those are the thoughts that are holding you back from your weight loss goal. And now we found them and we decided whether or not they were helpful. And I know that lots of you are like, okay, where's step 3? What do I do with this? How do I get rid of those unhelpful thoughts? You guys, here's my favorite thing in the world. There is no step 3. Truly, step 1 and step 2. This is it. Your brain will take care of the rest. And I know exactly what that sounds like. It sounds like woo-woo, airy-fairy, mumbo-jumbo. Like, no. I need a process. I need to know exactly what to do next. Here's the great thing about your amazing brain. It's going to take care of itself. There's this thing. It's called the observer effect. And usually, if you Google it, they'll talk a lot about physics. It's also a psychological effect. Psychologists know this. This is actually how I know this, from the one and only psychology class I took in college. We learned about the observer effect, where when you are observing something, by the very nature of observing it, that thing will change. So you observing your thoughts, noticing them, finding them, and deciding whether or not they're helpful, you have observed your thoughts, they will change. I know it sounds like magic, and it kind of feels like magic too, you guys, it really does. But what I want you to know is that it actually is this simple. Anybody can do this. And when you're ready, I actually have even more support for you to find your thoughts and decide whether or not they're helpful. I have a completely free 5-day course that is all about mastering your mindset. I have it for you here on screen in the description box. There might even be like a little URL here on the screen. But when you are ready, this is the thing that can take your weight loss results to the whole next level. You guys, thank you so much for watching today. I really hope that this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.